Hey everybody, it's your girl Nici, and we have a Reddit series for you. You know your girl, she's always reading these Reddit stories. Well, let's get into it. Okay, guys, our first Reddit story is under the status of as will all our Reddit stories today. The first one's called How to Cause a Family Destruction. Before you start reading this, you should know that it's going to be a very long story and it's ongoing right now. Good. That means we can come back for updates. Alright, you've chosen to read this, so I'll give you some backstory. I'm a 30-year-old female. This involves my godmother, who's 64, who I've always treated as my aunt due to her close relationships with my now passed on mother. The third main person is her soon to be ex, male, 54. It's important to note that he's retired recording engineer, music maker, and a musician, so he should make and play music. My uncle is a genius. He's a very smart man, but he doesn't make those around him feel stupid. Also note that he has 3 ruptured discs in his back and nerve bulging. My aunt has severe health issues, and honestly, it's practically a miracle she's still alive. She has several strokes and has more health issues than should be possible on a person to be alive. I've taken into account and made many excuses for her regarding her behavior over the years due to her declining health and the poor childhood she had, but I've finally reached the end of my rope with this latest stunt. Due to her poor health, my aunt has sparsely worked since my mother passed, and I moved in over 8 years ago. She formally retired in December of 22. A year and a half ago, we sold the family home and moved from a big city to a much smaller, charming city. I love living here, and the people are so much more friendlier. I like to make it known that this makeshift family is not well off, and we are in fact quite poor. I'm long used to this as I grew up this way, and I can make it work. Due to the age of the family home location and the fact that the neighborhood is on the verge of becoming a historical district, so why move, you might ask? The home was willed to her by her mother when she passed on, and the upkeep has not been done on this house in the proper ways for probably longer than I've been alive. This house has almost reached 100 years of age. After her mother passed on, my aunt, not having the slightest clue as to what she's doing, calls the tax office and informs them of the change of ownership, thus the tax breaks need to be changed. Which is true in my home state of Texas, as I had explained to me. I've not been a homeowner and do not claim to know how this works. Of course, all tax breaks are removed. Exemptions like first home or the like and senior citizen breaks. Thus begins the downward spiral. The tax office goes back 5 years and edits the taxes we are or have paid. Just like that, we're now over $40,000 in debt. Sadly, this isn't even the worst part. In fact, what follows makes this almost a mild disagreement. For the next 6 months or so begins a long, drawn-out battle with the tax office. I still don't understand why they wouldn't go back more than 3 years when fixing our taxes. Now we're $40,000 in debt. Came to light during the proceedings that the tax office thought we had an additional structure on the property. Poorly taken satellite pictures also showed some kind of structure on the property. The structure hadn't been on the property for more than 10 years. What it was a large deck with stairs. It was constructed by my aunt's great-grandfather as a play area for his children. Being made entirely of wood and not treating or seal it, it decayed. I often played on the deck as a young child before it became too unsafe and was eventually knocked down. I have many fond memories of playing pirates and running around it with my brothers. So we take many pictures of the yard, of the poor condition of the house, yada yada yada. During this time, things are becoming more and more tense in the house. My aunt has hardly worked in months, clinging to her poor health as an issue, and honestly, she's making a bigger deal of it than it was at the time. To clarify, my aunt had to work from home. A work from home job, and she did not need to do strenuous work. Oftentimes, she would say that it was too hard to sit in her chair and do her work, so she would leave early and return to the living room, which she had turned into her bedroom. A large bed was even in the center of the room. I wouldn't have had such a problem with this if she hadn't gone into the living room and proceeded to sit in her chair to watch television for hours. Bruh. Her office chair was very comfortable and could even massage. It was pretty expensive. After I moved into the house with her, she began to work less and less, having more burdens with bills and food. My aunt's also a heavy smoker. Her typical rate is 2 packs in a single day. That's right, 2 packs in a day. On a bad day when she can't sleep, she could do 4. See why I say the miracle she's still living? Before I got a better job, I was working 2. For a short period of time, 3. My aunt was the most controlling person on the planet, and I will die on that hill. Ooh. She controlled how many hours I went to my jobs, what I'm allowed to eat and drink. I'm not a smoker and I rarely drink. Most of the time when I do, it's with friends, and I always limit myself to 2 or 3 cocktails. I do love margaritas. Yes. Anyways, almost a year after I got my favorite job in Apple phone tech, I got hurt, slipped through some water in the house on a rainy day, and my ankle hits the wooden frame of my uncle's keyboard, not the computer one. Yep, it's broken. Surgery is needed. My aunt is the type of person who cannot be outdone. If someone, me especially, is sick or injured, she will give about 5 minutes of concern. The "you are lazy," melodramatic, or my absolute favorite, hypochondriac. If you don't know what it means, in a nutshell, you feel of having a chronic illness. It's a mental disorder. Her favorite time to use that is when I worked food service and would come home with some of my fingers bandaged. I'm a klutz of sorts, and I often injure my fingers. Anyone who's worked food service knows that if you cut yourself and it bleeds, the bandage is required. It's not unusual for me to have 2 or 3 cut fingers in a shift often. Like I said, I'm a klutz. Oof. Maybe a restaurant's not your place, babe. Not even 3 days after my surgery, mind you, I'm barely getting around, and I have to use a walker to get from place to place. I'm lazy because I'm hurting too bad to go stand on one leg and wash the dishes, that I haven't got off my lazy butt to make dinner. This entire time I have yet to adjust my pain medication. Opioids make me sick, and I'm okay with that. I see what is done to my aunt. She's been on them for longer than I've been alive. She's severely addicted. Yes, her medical conditions were an extreme amount of pain med. I sacrificed a lot during this time, and my job was one of them. My pain, lack of being able to keep food down, sufficient rest, and extreme stress forced me to resign from my job. It isn't always easy to sit down and just work. My break happened 2 years ago, now 2 days before Halloween. My surgery was in early November, and I resigned from the job in December. Okay. I did not go back to work until March of the next year for several reasons. During this time, I pushed myself to start walking before I was supposed to. I was not able to attend physical therapy, which I pay for now, and we sold the family home and moved to a 3-bed, 1-bath house that mainly has cosmetic damage, but is totally fixable. Okay. We had a lot of complications during the move, and it cost a lot more than it was initially planned. My aunt's first major negative health nosedive occurred in April. She has a fall and splinters her hip and tailbone, as well as her middle finger in her left hand. Man, the family's full of klutz. Oh my goodness. By this time, we have managed to remove the kitchen, knock the walls down. It was quite a learning experience for me putting in insulation. I absolutely loathe the fiberglass stuff. And then putting in new drywall, mudding, and then putting the orange peel-like appearance most, if not all, people are familiar with in more modern homes. Okay. My aunt spends about 2 weeks in the hospital, and they wanted to move her to inpatient care to make sure her bones heal. She tolerated that for another week before bullying her way out. I'm sure it will be no surprise to anyone that my aunt is a nightmare patient. If she calls nurses for something and they don't instantly appear, she's angry. I honestly hated going into the hospital for or with her because of her behavior. She has embarrassed me on more occasions than I care to count. She doesn't look the part at all. Medium-length gray hair, tattoos all over her body, a very unique but very her sense of style. She loves hairy boots, and her go-to brand is Bear Paws. But that's not relevant. My aunt, without a doubt, is the biggest Karen. She's that gets me the manager person when things don't go her way. She has pulled that with my coworkers in restaurants and fast food places. Ooh, no. You couldn't come to my restaurant. I'm sorry. No. When I worked in the restaurant, my family came. You're going to be respectful. You're going to tip your server. You're going to say hi, hello. You're not going to argue. That's how I made my family act when I worked in restaurants. You're not embarrassing me because I have to work here. And the people around you are also my customers. I'm sorry, you're a customer. Oh, hi, Mom, Dad. How are you guys? Enjoy your food. Behave. Your aunt could not come to my restaurant. She'd be kicked out. But anyways, so now my uncle and I are doing the round-the-clock care in a very insufficient place. She was received at the inpatient. Anyone who was a relative that needs to use a wheelchair understands how difficult it is to navigate one in a cramped or now wheelchair-friendly places. So now I'm hardly getting any sleep despite the fact that I work over 130 hours. Bruh. That's not cool. I've never been against providing my aunt care, but I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a nurse, and I have no medical training to speak of. The only reason I was against her leaving their care was because the doctors were not ready to release her. She couldn't really do things for herself, and the things that they should be doing. I'm not capable of taking care of her in the manner that she desperately needed. I hope that I've made this clear. And never mind helping, but I was not adequate to provide her needed care. So in the following weeks, I'm averaging 2 hours of sleep a night, working like a madwoman, trying to keep the bills all paid. Finally comes that she's up on her feet and able to do things on her own. Things are not going well at my job. I'm not used to being on my feet for such long periods of time, and I'm constantly working doubles. I'm on the verge of collapse when I finally have enough and quit. I will not burn myself down at a place that I'm not appreciated. I sleep for about 16 hours and then go job hunting. Good for you. Good for you standing up for your mental and physical health. I love that. My aunt blames me for quitting and being lazy because things aren't done at home. The kitchen isn't finished. Bonus, it's still not done. My chores are behind. I'm responsible for everything. She has 2 dog chihuahuas that she doesn't even take care of. They're never corrected for bad behaviors. You left something on the floor like a pair of shoes, and the younger one took them and chewed them. Not the dog's fault. It shouldn't have been on the floor. He steals dirty socks out of your laundry basket. Not his fault. It shouldn't have been on the floor. It was so bad that I had to pick my cat's litter box, food bowl off the floor to make sure her litter box was not a toy and her food remains hers. This is still not the worst thing. I will make it known that my aunt has had 3 strokes and she's not right in the head. Her last stroke really devastated her thinking. She has accused me of sneaking around with my uncle and accused both of us for having an affair many, many times, bro. Ew. Ew. I have not, will not, and never will have an intimate relationship with him. My uncle is the closest thing I've ever had to a dad, and I value that. I never want to lose it. My aunt is a very vocal person and has voiced this declaration to her entire family. Her son, who doesn't really care. Her daughter, who now thinks I'm a homewrecker and a promiscuous person. On top of a lazy, abusive person. Over the weeks of our relationship deteriorates and now doesn't exist. She's tried to evict me from the house despite the fact that I'm the only one who works and paying all the bills, including supplying her ridiculous smoke needs. That you should stop. I'm not allowed to eat food at home, and I'm absolutely forbidden from getting food at work. I cannot have the drinks that I like, Dr. Pepper, 0 sugar. She tries to pour them out that I bought with my money, not her food stamps. I spend too much time in my room. I come out of my room. She made the living room her bedroom again. Late at night because I need something. A drink. Some Tylenol because I have a headache. Such and such. One thing to note is that I do not like to hear my own footsteps. It drives me nuts. I know that's a weird quirk, but I'm okay with that. I do not make a noise when I walk through my home, except for when I wear heels, which I wasn't. She has yelled at me for waking her up on several occasions when I go to the kitchen, despite already being awake. I check every time so I know if I need to be extra quiet. For some reason, despite me being the one to leave the house the most. Her dogs bark at me every time I enter and exit the front door, if I'm the only one to do so. They do not bark at my aunt or my uncle, and I can't understand why. I have only legitimately woken her up once, and that was because I had to go to the car to get my phone. It was late, but I hadn't even been home from work all that long. My aunt has escalated things to ridiculous heights. In early August, she moved out of the house into her nephew's home. Thankfully, she took her dogs with her. I don't hate the dogs in general, but I don't hate dogs in general, but I admit I hate hers. She has tried to sell the whole house out from under us by claiming she's a single woman and that she bought this house with an inheritance money. Neither of these things are true. Her inheritance was the family home, which she sold, and there's such thing as community property. She's been planning this for a while. She filled out the deed to the house as a single woman. She had 2 investors look at the house and agreed to sell it for $30,000 on the pretense that $27,000 was worth of work needed to be done on the pipes. That is not true. The previous owner had new pipes run 2 years before she moved out. My uncle put a stop to the sale because the contract was not legal, being that it did not have his signature on it. The house was half his, as is the car that she cannot drive on the account that she can't read and her vision is failing her, all due to the stroke last year. She has pretty good speech and yells perfectly fine. Angry makes her slight slur disappear. Maybe that's why she wants to remain in an angry state all the time. My uncle and I want to live in the house, but in order to do so, my aunt is demanding $35,000 for the house, which is more than its current value. When we first moved here, she made a deal with me that I'd only have to pay all the bills until she got her Social Security insurance. Well, she's reneged on that more times than I have fingers to count on, even if you put my entire extended family together. Her first grand idea was to kick me out the day she got it and dump me into an apartment. That was never the plan. I've been waiting all this time to go back to school. This was the agreement. I take care of things for now, and then when she gets it, I cut down to 1/3 of the bills, and I can start saving money for a car of my own and go to school. She thinks that if I can get an apartment for $400 a month, work enough to pay my bills, and go to school, both of which I have to do full time. I looked in my city. There's no apartment under $800, and most are not all bills paid. She suggested I get loans. My credit is tanked thanks to medical bills. No one is going to loan to me. My portion of the surgery I needed was over $30,000, and that doesn't even include the numerous doctor visits post-surgery. She's tried to evict me despite no longer living at the house and not wanting it. She sent messages every day to my uncle asking about the money because she hasn't stopped smoking and won't. Her Social Security is due to come in December. Who needs over $30,000 for just a few months? I can't fathom it. I just want to get the loan, try to give her a little more than 17.5. That would be her half for the house. She said she didn't want the car, the Chrysler 300, and that it was junk or too expensive. Neither is true. The car just needs new tires, which I have, but haven't been able to spare the cash to get them on. It also needs the 100,000-mile maintenance things that all cars require. If sold, they both walk away with less than $5,000. She wants a car but cannot drive. I shudder to think of her behind the wheel. This is basically what I've dealt with in the last 2 months, not counting the mess that I've dealt with for years. Many times she has tried to tell me that I'm a poor daughter and that my mother would be so disappointed in me. She knows how to hit me where it hurts. I love my mother with all my heart. I treasure the time I got to spend with her and often wish it was more. She knows one of my goals is to stand in front of her again and tell her that I lived the best way I could with the hand that I had to play. I will update if there's more news. Things are slow going with the bank on getting a loan to finally get her out of our lives. I often find myself wanting to cry at the pain this causes. I never thought I'd break ties with the other person who was there the day I was born and the first to hold me. This is heartbreaking. Ooh. Oh my. Oh, baby girl. Oh my. That is really heartbreaking. I can't believe that you have to deal with that all by yourself. And I am so sorry that you had to deal with that. I wouldn't even know how to function. You definitely deserve more, and the amount of entitlement in that whole story is a lot. I don't even know where to start. You definitely deserve better. Your uncle deserves better. But I'm glad you're standing up for yourself. I'm glad you're trying to get, your life on track. I hate that you have so much debt, but I feel like the 40K of debt will follow your grandmother. And yes, you have your debt from the hospital, but I'm pretty sure there are pretty decent payment plans for you to make, so that way it's not too hard for you. Don't let your grandmother, great aunt, whoever, godmother, ruin the happiness that you have in your life. Keep working hard, keep staying strong, and at the end of the day, you'll make it, and you'll definitely make it a better outcome. So sometimes we have to cut people out even if they've been there forever. It just means that you guys are on separate paths now, and hopefully for the better. I wish you the best. That's truly a lot. I will bookmark you so I can keep up to date and we can all keep up to date. Thank you for sharing your lovely self and your lovely story, your 18-page paper. But no, truly, thank you. Thank you so much. Hopefully things will look better for you. I really do hope they will look out better for you. Okay, guys, on to the next story. We have Death in the Family. It's another entitled People story. Okay, my husband's parents died both within the last 18 months. Ooh, we're in our early 40s, so it's earlier than we expected. His father died Saturday, so this, the last one, is very fresh. We had to go to his house to settle his affairs quickly, and he lived with multiple states away. It happens to be where family, both his and mine, are very present. Many are of different political stance than ours. Frankly, we're liberal, which offends them. Even my father-in-law has becoming outrageous. Still, it's a very personal loss, mostly for an era of my husband's life and its house of 40 years of memories. Though our family has been through a lot in the past, suddenly after inheriting this mess, everyone now wants to help. As in, come to this house, rummage through these years of history and take what they think we don't need. They say they're helping, but we haven't even processed what happened yet. It's exhausting to fight off these vultures in the midst of organizing affairs and going through mountains of my husband's past. The attacks are coming from both sides. Why don't people understand? I'm about to tell everyone to get effed. I did to say, I talked to my mom about the situation. She suggested, along with the suggestions of the post, that we take time to just do things ourselves for a few days. A few days to install cameras and security, but also to get into specifics of how much time in the house my husband was raised in. I do appreciate everyone's posts. It's crazy. I never expected this at this age. I never expected this at any age. I still am saying, why the F are people so entitled? The stories of others suck. People suck. Maybe after this time my mind will change, but right now, no. Ooh, I hate vultures. I hate vultures. And this always happens. People always feel like they get a piece of whoever passed away. And sometimes they also feel like they need to put their opinions on how you have their, the way the funeral should be, or their input on this, or their input on that. And for someone who's lost a father, all this chatting that you guys are doing, hush. My father passing, his things are between me, my mother, my sister, and his only remaining living sister. Like, why would you do this to us? Why are you here asking for this? Why do you need to know what he thought about it? He passed away. Give the family, the immediate family, room to breathe. Breathe and grieve. He just passed away, and his mother passed away before that. He just lost both his parents. Give him time. Give him energy. Get out of the house. Let him be with his parents. It's a lot, and I feel so sorry. The only thing I can think of is change your locks, and like you've already done, put up security cameras and all that, and take time to grieve. It's really hard for you to hit. Family is family, and at the end of the day, with few exceptions, there are some family that aren't family. I understand, but it sounds like even with your differences, y'all were still a tight family, and you need that time to grieve. No one should be this in your space. It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. Okay. Um, the next is of the entitled people stories. Our lady gets her iPad stolen and decides it should be everybody's problem. Okay. I work as an administrator in an elementary school. Last Monday morning, a very agitated coworker came asking for help. Apparently, someone broke into a mother's car and stole her iPad while she was dropping off her kid. Okay. That's really bad. I only have access to the surveillance footage, so of course I agree to help. I only need to know which car it was and where it was parked. We both went out to look for the mom so I can ask her this. She was yelling at a group of teachers, demanding camera footage, and saying that she knew the school was horrible and full of thieves. She was so upset she didn't want to talk to me and just left in a rage. I thought that was very understandable, to be honest. I went over to her kid's teacher to ask exactly how it happened. Then everything turned really awkward. My mom's car wasn't in our parking lot when it happened. She decided to leave it out on the street so she could save time. She left her car unlocked. The iPad, in a bright pink case, was on the passenger seat. She never activated the Find My feature. This wasn't in school grounds, and there's no clear camera footage. The best I could find was her car in the distance with passing traffic blocking the view. Watched the whole 10 minutes, starting from where they got off of the car to when she realized the iPad wasn't there anymore and came storming back. I saw several people pass by in that time, and at no point could the actual theft be seen. I did notice a blurry man took longer time than everyone else walking by our car, so we pointed this out and we sent her the footage. The mom was pissed. She said the footage was useless since she couldn't see who the man was or where he was heading. But sadly, there was nothing else we could do. She threw a big fuss and even put a bad Google review claiming this school covers up for thieves. Apparently, she wanted us to pay for the damages. It's been a week now, and she's finally calmed down. So the boring end of the story, I'm just baffled at the entitlement of wanting everyone else to pay for her ridiculous mistakes. Peace. The overwhelming thought that the mother thought you guys were going to fix that for her. How was she going to get that fulfilled? How was she going to make that situation okay? Like, who does that? Why would you do that? I can't even. I can't even. That's just a lot of mess. And there are people out there like that. We just gotta deal with it on a day to day. I wish you didn't have to deal with it on a day to day. I wish you didn't have to deal with it at all. But it is what it is. Hopefully, she gets a new iPad. She can get a refurbished one from Apple, and they're pretty decently priced. And on top of that, they come with the fact that Apple will guarantee they work. So, good luck to you. Wish you the best, mom. But don't blame children or school for some mistakes that you had. That's just it. Okay. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you for joining me for Entitled People Reddit Stories. It was quite a bit of a journey. We had a bit of a long one in there. We'll have another Entitled People story soon. I enjoyed the stories, but people's entitlement these days are getting pretty bad. But this is the world we live in. But thank you for stopping by. I hope you guys liked the video. Please subscribe. And if you did like the video, also like it for me. It helps me out. Thank you for stopping by. It's your girl Nici. Peace.